Hi and welcome to my channel. Now today's video is about me recapping these TK Solarvox 50 speakers, but don't run away because hopefully I'm going to be able to shed a bit of light at things I maybe should have done differently and hopefully give you one or two tips that may help you out if you're a novice and maybe thinking about recapping your speakers. If you do this all the time or you're an expert, these tips ain't really going to come in handy, and if you've probably got your own little method of doing it, all that kind of stuff. But anyway, I just thought I'd mention them as we go along, and hopefully it may help some people out somewhere along the line. Now these are, and also these tips may not be, these are quite big speakers and heavy, a lot of backwards and forwards kind of thing. If you've got a little dinky pair of speakers, you're probably not going to take these tips on too much because they're going to be really easy to work on kind of thing. But anyway, these are quite big, chunky and heavy. So anyway, I wanted to get these. I did do a video previously, giving my initial thoughts, review on these when I bought them, and a few things I wanted to kind of change or trying to get them to do. Just wanted to kind of get them to have a bit more freedom in the bottom end, in the bass, as my Dynaco A35s have got. And I just wanted to tame down that top end, just a little bit top end, a little bit on the bright side for me, maybe. So in comparison, I did mention in that video that these sounded like my Dynaco A35s with that little, they've got a little switch at the back, 5 positions to tame that top end to get more or less out of it. And when you put it on full, these sounded just a tad brighter, a bit more forward than I wanted with that on the top setting, the A35s on the top setting. So I wanted to get them to sound more like it in the neutral kind of setting, the middle setting, in number 3, if you imagine in 1 to 5, number 3 setting. I wanted to get these to sound similar or the same as them Dynaco A35s, top end wise, brightness, mid-range kind of bit, that kind of level as they are. Hopefully you know what I'm on about. I don't know what I'm on about myself sometimes, but no, hopefully you've got an idea what I'm trying to say anyway. Okay, so that was the idea of these, and I had quite a few suggestions come along from different people, and I thank you for all them suggestions. I didn't want to go too much into it. I didn't want to spend too much. I didn't want to spend too much time. I didn't want to go too far. Some people would go a lot further, would spend a lot more time on it than I did, but like I say, it's kind of like stop at a winner. As soon as I got it sounding pretty good, I thought that's good. I'll probably stop there. That'll do me. That's great. I won't go too much further because you could go and buy another 4 or 5 different capacitors. They've all got their little bit of a signature to their own sound, even though they're the same kind of values. And before you know it, you've got a load of capacitors, and you're only going to use 2 of them, 1 for each speaker, and you've got a load sitting there that you're not going to do anything with it. And it kind of gets a bit, going over the top, maybe going a bit too far, where do you stop kind of thing. That's how I felt. I just want to do it quick and simple, really, as much as I could. But I've got tons of suggestions about bracing, stuff to use, capacitors to use, all that kind of stuff. You should use this capacitor, maybe you should use that capacitor, all that kind of stuff. And of course, if you start going down them lines, you're going to have quite a few capacitors to choose, and it's going to work out, like I say, expensive for me anyway, but and maybe not worth putting all the effort into these. Now, lucky enough, one person did get in touch with me, Harry, so I'm going to say, hi Harry, thanks very much for getting in touch with us. He did email me, and he did say that a friend, it wasn't him, but it was a friend of him, of his, shall I say, that had these speakers many moons ago, as well as the Dynaco A45s, which was great because these are very much based on them A45s. I did mention it in the last video. I don't know if he had them together, I'm not too sure about that, but he's had them both anyway, and he said in a nutshell, really, to start off with, that I'm not going to get these to sound, or he didn't get these to sound, and he done quite a bit of experimentation on them apparently, to get these to sound as good as the A45s. The A45s were a better set of speakers, and there's a few reasons for that. He said it's a different cabinet, the cabinet's slightly smaller, the arrangements of the speakers are slightly different, the crossover is different as well, and the cabinet and etc. Not so much the drivers, because they're the same drivers ish. I'll tell you about that in a minute, but they are the same drivers, I think, near enough. It's just that the cabinet was made better, everything was done better, there's more time, effort put into it, and all that kind of stuff. So you're obviously going to get a better sound out of it. But he said you're going to come reasonably close, kind of thing, but you're not going to quite get that sound. So I think he was trying to say that basically, as I didn't want to do as well, which was great, is that spend too much time, too much effort, too much money getting it, because you're not going to probably, he never got there, so I'm probably not going to get there kind of thing. So that's the gist of the conversation I kind of got. So I thought that's great. So let's stop at a winner. Sounds even better now to me. So yeah, apparently these are 15 ohm drivers, and the drivers in the Dynaco A45s are 15 ohm as far as you can remember as well. But some of these tweeters and that, some of them are 4 ohms, some of them are 8 ohms kind of thing. They did kind of vary depending who Sears sent them off to, kind of thing. I think this is the kind of thing I kind of got out of it. If I go to the A35s, may explain it a bit better, or the A25s even. The A25s are kind of copies, that there is a few around, A25 copies. They used by different makes or whatever, Scandinavian, that they use the the 4 ohm driver as their main unit, a 4 ohm driver in them speakers, where Dynaco actually used an 8 ohm one. So the crossover would be different, and like I say, the cabinet would be made different, and the wadding and all that kind of stuff. So all added up to the Dynaco being a superior speaker. How much superior, I don't know, because I haven't got any others to try it out with, but it seems in that direction that I'm not going to get to that level pretty much no matter what I do, kind of thing. They kind of lumbered with what I've got, kind of thing, in a way, but I can make them better, and I've made them better, so that is great. So yeah, so it did someone to say that my best bet was just to get a few capacitors, a few different values, just around what is a 16 ohm capacitor in there, get some 16 ohm round about that kind of bit, a few different makes, kind of thing, and just get a couple of resistors, a few 1 ohm or 2 ohm resistors to kind of just tinker around and maybe tame down that top end as well. That was kind of like the advice I got. And also the wadding. Now the wadding I did kind of come up with myself anyway. I was going to kind of make it into a bucket shaped kind of wadding, where in here at the moment, when it was in there, it was just 3 bits of wadding just chucked in there, laid down flat, and I think, you know, it kind of sagged a little bit as well. Nothing really structural wise holding it in place. So it wasn't great. It wasn't as bad as I had a Pioneer. I think it was a C997s or something, and that was just a speaker that I've got. Obviously there's a lot more improvement could be done with that speaker, even though it's probably still a bit limited. Is that all I had in there was a big cabinet like this, quite not a great wood around it. It wasn't as thick and sturdy as this, and it just had a bit of foam. It was just a bit of kind of like loose kind of foam at the bottom, probably about that thick. It wasn't very thick at all, just the width of the bottom, just chucked in, and that was it. So you could hear a lot of the cabinet in that speaker, like, you know, I mean, the bass kind of like booming around inside the cabinet. Anyway, so I just thought to mention that, but yeah, so you know, wadding can make a massive amount of difference. And it did turn around and say kind of a bucket where it's on the sides and also in the middle at the back, shall we say. And yeah, lucky enough I had a bit of spare wadding. It wasn't this kind of wadding. This is what's originally in there, something like this, which is a fiberglass, something you probably got in your loft. That's the kind of wadding in there, and I'm just going to tell you what I did just to test out how good this was. Not this ain't a scientific test or anything like that, but all I've done was the one that was in there was about, I should imagine, 4 inches thick. I'll show you a picture of all this in a minute. We'll get inside it and all that in a minute. But all I did really to test this against the wadding I had was just put it over a driver basically, and then turn the amplifier on, stuck it over a driver, and this pretty much dead. You know, something was coming out of it, but not a lot. It kind of deadened the sound. Me just putting that over the driver deadened the sound. Where the wadding I used wasn't quite as good. I should imagine it was still the same thickness. It was kind of it wasn't a fiberglass. It was more a synthetic kind of wadding, but it kind of made about half was coming through. So, you know, I'm not going to lie and say it was like, oh, it's done exactly the same. It didn't. It was about half. So maybe just a little tip, maybe if you're thinking about wadding and how absorbent it is, to try and measure it, because it is hard to tell just looking at it. You may think that's quite thick, and that other one stuff, that synthetic kind of stuff, was thick. But as soon as you put it there, still half the sound was kind of coming out. This is not exact science, you know, I'm guessing a bit, but about half the volume was kind of coming out. Well, it pretty much muted it, so I should imagine it was half as good. And this is what I've stuck in there as well as the original wadding that come with it. It's just that some I had. I thought it saved me buying some as well, just to give it a go and see how it sounded. Obviously, it didn't sound good. I would have to go and buy some. But yeah, so let's just have a look. We're going to start from scratch, and we'll show you that wadding and all that as we go along. So the first thing I did with these is put new connectors on, because these had little connectors at the back. I haven't got a picture of that, but if you go back to that previous video, like I say, the link was at the top a little earlier, you'll see the connections at the back. So I used some Wolfdale ones that come off, I must have bought about 4 or 5 pairs now, with these little Wolfdale diamond threes for keeping some spare drivers, and a couple of sets I've still got now. I've got 2 sets now. I did have one. Well, I did have 2. I got rid of a pair and I bought another pair because it was cheap enough. Diamond threes, and the little connections at the back there, they're kind of like moulded, and I fitted them in. They fitted perfectly, which was great. So a new connections inside, they are at the back there, they're little Wolfdale connections. These fitted fine. So all I've done was really is take the others out. They just need a little tap out with an hammer. They're kind of in there, and I don't know if they're glued or whatever, but it was a bit stiff, so just a little tap of an hammer knocked them out. Next thing I've done was take the old cap out, and if we take the old cap out, this was a Jensen 16 microfarad cap, and this was electrolytic cap, by the way, and there it is there, measured there. As you can see, the V loss is 2.8, capacitance 20.56, so it's quite a bit out. Supposed to be 16, 20.56, and the ESR of 0.16 ohms. Now, was going to get another electrolytic, but I've been looking about and that, and people suggested, and this bloke suggested also, Harry's friend did suggest that I'll get some of these. And now, if I say this wrong, it's me. I'm not very good at how things are supposed to sound, but polypropylene cap. That's it. So I've got a few of them. Right. Okay. So the first one I got was, now you're going to have to excuse my pronunciations of some of these. This was a there it is. It's a AUDYN cap. Is that Wadding? Wadding? Something like that anyway. And this was the nearest I could get there was a 17 microfarad one. I thought I'd get one of them 17 and another make 15. And I did have a 1 microfarad which is over there cap as well. So I could like make the 15 into 16. But we're going to go into that in a minute anyway. So that was that. So if we just measure that's the that was the old cap. So this is the cap I'm going to measure now. This is the Wadding, whatever it's called. Now this measured 17 microfarad. And as you can see, that when we look at it, there's a V loss of 0, capacitance of 16.56, and the ESR of 003. So that's that one. Now I did get another cap, which is a monocore. And have a quick look at that. It's a V loss of 0, capacitance of 14.73, ESR of 0.04. So that's it. So they are, you know, I'll solder these on the board. As you can see, there's one of them and there's the other. So they're soldered onto the board, and there they are both installed as well, just to show you I did install these, etc. Now what I wish I would have done, because I did muck around with that 1 microfarad cap as well, bridging across that 15 microfarad monoco as well. But I should have used these really. These are called Wagos. If you're an electrician, you're going to know all about these. These are the connections that most of them, it seems like every electrician these days use for extending wires, all that kind of stuff. You just pop your wire in one, pop your wire in the other, and these are obviously connected to each other and they bridge across, so you're going to make a complete circuit. And what I should have done really is, if with that crossover, which made life a lot easier, because I put it in there, I put all the wadding in there, put all the drivers in, listen to it, then think, right, let's change it to the other one, do all the same backwards and forwards, then put the 1 microfarad cap in there as well with that monoco and all that. And it got, lugging these backwards and forwards to the bench and all that, and I'd done it upstairs here. I wanted to get sound up here, then I want to take it downstairs to listen to it down there as well, because it's a different sound down there. I'm quite a lot further away from the speakers as I am here. This is quite closed in, this room. So the top end was just slightly different downstairs, just sounded just a slightly less than what it does up here. All that kind of stuff. So what I should have done really, on hindsight, because I've got a drawer full of these, is undo the cap here. I'm not using the original cap in there anyway, because it's no good. It's just snap it off there maybe, and just Wago this on one side. So I'll just cut it there. I could unsolder it, but just cut it there, and just put one wire in there on one side, and that's in there on one side like that. So I've a Wago this side of the capacitor, and a Wago that side of the capacitor like that. And all that I do is put the other capacitor in there, just slide it up. I mean, like I say, that's just cutting that cap. You could take it out and just put a bit of wire. You may have a resistor or something like that. We just cut the legs off of it and poke them through, so you've got a little bit more movement. But you don't really need a lot. Like I say, once you've got that Wago in there, it'd be sitting there something like that. It's just get the other capacitor and just pop it in there. So you could just pop it into the other connection of that Wago, tip it down, and that's in there solid. And you could do that for both sides. So you've got Wago each side on your board. And then you could just flick it up, so you could have all the wadding in there and everything. Just kind of push the wadding apart a little bit to get to it, and just do a quick swap, not a hot swap. Obviously, don't make sure your speakers are turned off. But yeah, just quickly swap them out really quick. Rather than what I did was keep taking the board out, all the wadding out, all over the floor, all the dust flying. Even though I had a mask on, all the dust flying everywhere. It's getting down my throat and everything, even with a mask, and driving me mad, getting me frustrated, getting warm, all that kind of stuff. So something like this may help, I think. You know what I mean? I'm not saying use this, but just think about it. It's maybe different, like say if you've got a small set of speakers, it's not too much fuss, a bit of wadding in there, so it's probably not going to cause you too much aggro, but it's just so much quicker, I think. Next time I do something like it, which is probably going to be quite a while now, is I'm going to probably use one of these Wagos. It's going to be so much simpler to use. So that's that. So that's my first tip, like I say. And also measuring that foam, your wadding against the speakers, kind of like another tip of mine. So just a couple of tips that may help you out there. So right, let's have a look. So there I've got the board in there, as you see earlier, and this is how I've done the wadding. It's hard to show on camera, but basically there's a picture of it there. Hopefully you're going to get the gist of the wadding there. I've put it, but it's like I say, it's quite thick. It's quite a bucket all the way around inside, and it's kind of like just there's enough room for the drivers, etc. So that's how I had the wadding. So I thought, it should be okay kind of thing. But like I said, if it wasn't, I'd take that white wadding out and get some thicker fiberglass. But I didn't have to do all that because I think it sounds pretty good now. I've done that. Oh, sorry, I've skipped ahead a little bit. That Wadding sounded fine. It dampened that bass down nicely. It gives a bit more freedom to that bass as well. Still not as good as the Dynaco, but it did definitely help it out. It's definitely helping the bass. It was a tighter, more freedom kind of bass, but still not to the degree of that A35. It's just a little bit more to go to kind of get to that degree, but I'm happy with the bass. That is fine. It's not kind of like resonating too much with the cabinet, etc. So I'm pretty happy with the bass. Now going to the tweeter nut, so I've tried it up here and backwards and forwards, and also another tip is that I kept on putting the grill, every time I tested these for some reason, I just got into the habit of putting this grill back on. I think I'll test it with the grill on because that's someone to listen to it. And maybe not a way to go, because what I did, I stuck this on the chair and I stuck it up and everything. I was saying, getting frustrated, all this fiberglass flying about all around the room and everything. We'll don't make mistakes, and certainly I did. I ended up putting this on the chair and sitting straight back on the chair, and of course sitting on this. And I just heard it creak just a bit, just enough. It's just going to bend a bit more there, but I don't know if you can see, I've got a little crack there and a crack over here as well. And if I did go like that, put it forward, it wouldn't take a lot of bending. So I'm going to have to put a bit of glue. I'm going to have to try and straighten that out a little bit, and maybe just put a little bit of glue once I've pushed it apart, a bit of glue in there, and that'll hold it. But it's not too bad. It's got a slight bow to it, so, but to be fair, so's the other one. These are old now, and this cloth kind of, I don't know if it shrinks or whatever, it kind of pulls that bit of hardwood inwards one way or the other, and the other one's exactly the same there. It's got that kind of little curve to it, not that it's been broken or anything, it's just that this front here is probably just, I don't know, it's just tightening up a bit, and it's just bending the wood round just a little bit. So it's exactly the same as the other, but it's got a little crack in it now. Well, I sat down in it, so yeah, I don't know why I did that. So maybe just test them without keep putting the grills on every 5 minutes, like I did. Test them so you get it pretty much as you are, then stick the grills on for the final listening, or you can listen to them with or without the grills kind of thing. Anyway, I've nearly got this right now. The top end was just a little bit too bright still. It sounded a lot more detail in that top end, even though these are kind of rolled off. These tweeters do roll off. I was getting more detail in the top end. You know, that's and all that kind of stuff. It was nice. Getting a finer detail. It had more decay to it. All that kind of stuff. It did sound better. And so I did use that 1 microfarad capacitor as well. But I'm going to come to that in a minute. The next thing I did was muck around with these resistors, and I thought I'd put the resistors in series with this. So I'm just going to show you the old diagram. That's how it was with the tweeter down the bottom there. I've actually got it labelled up as treble, and eventually after a little bit of mucking around, a little bit of backwards and forwards, 1 ohm, 2 ohms, 2.2 up to 3.2, and I've kind of gone for the 2.2 microfarad capacitor, and I did put that 1 microfarad capacitor across that 15 microfarad capacitor there in the circuit as well. But I took it out again. I just felt this, just as a 15, just gives a little bit more air to it, just a little bit more air, a little bit more top end. And like I say, when you go, it just goes, it's lovely, like that decay was nice, just gives that little bit more decay. And also, now about the capacitor I use this 15 over this one here, over this 17, is that I just thought that then again, you know, this was pretty much the same. It just that capacitor in there, that monocore, is it called, just give that more to it, just that more decay in the top end, which I liked, which was great. But in this room, they're just a tad bright, just a very tad bright, I would say, in this room, just a little bit, just a tad. But as I'm downstairs now listening to it, and these are not for this room really, they're a big old speaker, and it's a small room, and I don't think big speakers should be in a small room, should have, you know, amount of room in the room kind of thing. So I took these downstairs, back downstairs, I'll say it's killed me back, trust me. These sound nice downstairs. I do like the sound of these. Now these were probably still not as good as the Dynaco A45, so I can accept that, but they do sound nice. I'm pleased with the sound and everything. Like stuff that bass, that you know, it hasn't got quite the freedom as them A35s, but it's getting there. It sounds quite nice, that bottom end now. So I'm happy with it. Still not quite on par. You know, if you say me which is a better speaker, the A35s are the more natural, the more more natural kind of sounding speaker, but these go down lower. These give a lot more bass, a lot more lower in frequency. You've got 2 drivers here, bigger cabinet, etc. These give more bottom end, and like I say, downstairs these are going to work fine. I'm going to have to get myself a nice little pair of stands with these, and I may even put these were about, I'm guessing, about 24 centimetres off the ground downstairs. My stands are, I think, were 22. They differ in about 2 centimetres. I think the ones downstairs are a little bit lower. I may trying to get a little pair of wooden stands or some stands just a bit nearer the floor as well, and maybe just tilt these upwards towards me a little bit, something like that. I may experiment a little bit more with that when it's downstairs, but I'm really happy with the sound downstairs. Got a nice sound stage, everything comes through really nice. Yeah, all in all, I've definitely improved these to what they were, that's for certain. Like I say, just slinging in that bit of wadding, just laying in the back was you know, after going to all this cutting out this and all that, you know, what else, all the drivers they've used, it was like a bit of a like, well, we spent enough, we've done enough, that'd do, just slinging a bit of wadding and just lay it on the back and that'd do, rather than kind of crafting it and shaping it more like Dynaco did and just getting more out of it. Would have appealed to more people probably if they listened to it and heard it. Okay, there's just one more tip I forgot to tell you, and I thought, should I stick it on the video or not? Is it worth saying? I think it definitely is worth saying. Harry did turn around and say to me that his friend said that have some time out when you're testing it and listening to it, the changes you made by swapping over caps, etc. Have a little bit of time out. Don't go one to the other straight away, all that kind of stuff, because you're going to get like an old day doing it, because you're just going to drive yourself mad, which it probably did in a way, and it probably would have done if I didn't take that advice. Is that give your ears a rest, come back in with a fresh set of ears rather than listening, because it's just going to be, is it or is it not? Is it? You're going to get in that kind of muddle a bit. So that's what I did. I did take some time out. That's why it took me quite a while. And also, I forgot to also mention that I did run these capacitors in to a certain extent. I'm not too sure how many hours people recommend these, but I had them on a couple of days after I've done the changes, and kind of I did swap them back out about a bit as well. I did put this one back in here after and let it run for a couple of days, etc. So it did take quite a while for me to do this. This is why I don't want to go too much more into it. If I've got some other capacitors, I'm going to have to do the same. It's going to be quite involving. It's going to take me months, kind of thing. You know, I took that time out. I did like listen to it. Like I say, had these running a couple of days. I did listen to it backwards and forwards. Take one out, putting one in, mucking about with resistors, etc. And took some time out, because I think it can get to you. Are you hearing what you're hearing? Are you just getting mixed up? Does it sound better? Oh, it sounds a little bit bright. That sounds better now. And you sit back, and after, you know, a day later you come back and think, oh no, it's far too bright now. Like that kind of stuff. So just take a bit of time out, I think, is another tip, which I did. And I think it stopped me from going insane. It helped me back as well, because these are quite heavy. But yeah, I think it's like, do that little change, give yourself a rest, come back to it, then have another listen, rather than saying, oh no, it's too bright, take it out, swap it over again. Just put it in there, have a listen. It was a little bit too bright. Come back out of the room, come back in, give yourself, you know, not 10 minutes, but give yourself a break, an hour or so, a few hours, etc. Which I did. Had a cup of tea, went for a walk, all that kind of stuff. Come back into it and listen to it again with fresh ears to get a more of an opinion on it as well. So that's a great tip, I think, that Harry's friend did give me there, because I probably wouldn't have done that. I probably would have just cracked on and try and get it all over and done with as quick as possible. That is finally it. Again, thanks for watching. See you all soon.